In the early 20th century, the British Raj maintained firm control over the Indian subcontinent, projecting a strict hierarchy of foreign dominance. The empire justified its presence with a specific historical narrative. They argued the subcontinent was a fractured collection of backward territories, lacking the deep, unifying ancient pedigree of places like Egypt or Mesopotamia. Therefore, it required foreign rule to function. Indian independence leaders faced a logistical problem. To mobilize millions of highly diverse people against the empire, they needed proof of a shared, inherent greatness, a historical anchor that everyone could rally around. Without that profound historical root, forging a single cohesive identity out of countless distinct regional cultures was an incredibly difficult task. Then, in the 1920s, the Archaeological Survey of India dug into the Punjab region. They unearthed the physical ruins of two lost cities, Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. This excavation pushed the timeline of civilized life in the region back thousands of years before the British arrived, dismantling the empire's central claim of historical backwardness. Curious, but physical artifacts in the dirt do not automatically create a nation. The question was how to take the baked bricks of a lost world and use them to build a modern independence movement. This map shows the massive territorial footprint of the Indus Valley civilization. Lasting from 3300 to 1300 BCE, it spanned across modern-day Pakistan, India, and Afghanistan, covering a wider area than ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. Mohenjo-Daro alone housed up to 60,000 individuals. Residents lived in precise baked brick houses alongside large clusters of non-residential buildings, showcasing strict urban planning. Underneath those streets lay highly advanced public works. They engineered elaborate, perfectly straight brick-lined drainage trenches and complex water supply systems. Their monumental architecture points to a high priority on communal hygiene and societal organization, best seen in the tiered brick walls of the central pool, known as the Great Bath. Yet much of their daily life remains completely unknown. The symbols carved into these square seals belong to the Indus script, an entirely undeciphered writing system that obscures their language and exact religious practices. Eventually, severe climate change and drought reduced the region's water supply, dispersing the population. The cities were abandoned, leaving their legacy beneath the soil. Thousands of years later, in 1942, the subcontinent was in turmoil. World War II was raging, and the Quit India movement exploded into the streets, demanding immediate, total independence. The British government responded with a massive crackdown, using heavy force to suppress the mass upsurge and jailing thousands of political leaders. Among those arrested was Jawaharlal Nehru. Cut off entirely from the outside world, he was locked inside the heavy stone walls of the Ahmednagar fort. Facing the severe monotony of a lengthy imprisonment, Nehru turned his mind backward. Over 5 months, he restudied the subcontinent's deep past, writing a massive treatise titled The Discovery of India. This diagram represents the core mechanic Nehru focused on, the cultural synthesis between native Dravidians and incoming Aryans. He concluded this ancient fusion of distinct peoples created the unshakable bedrock of all subsequent Indian culture. Nehru traced this pattern of resilience forward through the centuries. As new waves of foreign groups arrived, Greeks, Huns, Turks, they were gradually absorbed and Indianized by this existing cultural foundation. Nehru recognized the Indus Valley as the starting point of a 5,000-year thread of cultural survival. After his release, Nehru published his writings in 1946. The book was translated into dozens of major languages across the globe, carrying the story of the Indus Valley from a prison cell to the wider Indian public and turning the archaeological findings into an accessible intellectual manifesto. He provided a clear definition of the nation. It was not a fractured colonial territory, but rather a cultural unity amidst diversity, held together by strong, invisible historical threads. This realization gave the wider independence movement the ideological ammunition it desperately needed. It provided leaders like Gandhi with the historical proof required to mobilize a mass democratic organization with deep pride. The colonial myth of a historically backward region was completely dismantled. Nehru had documented definitive proof that the subcontinent possessed a rich intellectual and spiritual tradition millennia before the British ever set foot there. History functions as a vital tool used by people to survive present hardships and forge unity for the future. The literal unearthing of a highly advanced Bronze Age society provided the exact psychological roots an imprisoned visionary needed in 1942. By connecting those physical ruins to an enduring legacy, Nehru demonstrated that India's spirit was unsubdued and unconquered, laying the philosophical blueprint for an independent, modern republic.